What do you prefer, seshing in a group or seshing by yourself? I think there's a lot of pros and cons to both of them. And this is an interesting topic for me because I do most of my sessions every night on Twitch at 9 Eastern, and I'm by myself, right? But there's a whole group of people there to chat with and talk to. If you have Amazon Prime, come support me on Twitch for free. Now, we all know the lonely stoner frees his mind at night, but what are some of the pros to getting high by yourself? Well, there's a lot of them. But when it comes to seshing, it can be more fun to smoke in a group with people, especially if you're hanging out with your friends and having a good time, and then you add in the element of getting high. But also for a lot of people out there, just getting high puts them in a completely different mindset, and it's just so much better to hang out, chill by yourself, get lost in your own thoughts, or work on something creative. Now, I'm a fan of both. I like seshing with people. I like seshing by myself. Most of my sessions, like I said, are on Twitch. I'm by myself, so I get a lot of the benefits of seshing by myself. I can't mess up the rotation, which is probably the number one thing, right? You're at a session, especially there's a lot of people and people are getting really high, like somebody's gonna mess up the rotation, it's gonna happen, and then it's like, well, do we get mad at them or do we just correct it, whatever? Seshing by yourself, you can't mess up the rotation. You're up next every time and you can go whenever you want. You don't have to share, which is a nice thing. Sometimes you sesh with your buddy all the time, but he never throws down. Or when he does throw down, you're like, could you pick that back up? I don't want to smoke that. But it can be nice. You're not going to get pressured by anybody. Oh, you're up, you got to hit this. There's nobody trying to hand you a cornered bowl or anything like that. Like, saved you some greens, buddy. You could just pack the bowl appropriately and hit the whole thing. Or if you want to corner your own bowl, go ahead, just don't pass it to me. But for some people, seshing by yourself can get boring without an activity. If you're not sitting down to watch a movie or a show or play a game when you're high, I mean, it could get boring, especially if you're not like super creative and you come up with a lot of ideas to entertain yourself. Some people have a hard time entertaining themselves. I have an easy time entertaining myself, but I could definitely understand my ability kind of comes down a little bit when I'm high. There are also a lot of positives to smoking in a group, and I think one of the biggest one is variety. If you do have some cool friends that like to bring different stuff to the sesh, sometimes you might only have flour, but somebody brings damps to the sesh. Somebody got this really nice hash that you've never seen before, and they're pulling up to the sesh and they're ready to share with you. Sometimes you just don't have a lot of options. You got one kind of flour from the store, and you got a lot of it, you've been smoking it for a while, and it's like, okay, it's cool, but then your friends come over with some different stuff and you can mix up the flavors and get a broader spectrum. Smoking in a group can definitely help you have more options for entertainment, right? There's good conversation that can be had. You can have a good conversation with yourself, but don't do it out loud in public. But your friend might want to show you a funny video that you would have never have seen if they didn't show you. Or there's this really obscure meme that two of your friends have been talking about for weeks that they're ready to introduce to you. It can be fun. And while it's not really cool to try to push people to smoke more, sometimes you want to. You agree as a group that you're going to challenge yourselves. You got a certain amount you're trying to go through. You want to see who can smoke the most. That can be fun sometimes. Even if you don't win, you still got high, right? I mean, if I were there, I would win. But smoking's not a competition. Unless there's prize money, I'll show up. But there's been some sessions where I was just hanging out with some buddies and we were all just trying to see how high we can get. Can you take another one? Can you take another one? Can you take an even bigger hit than before? And as long as everybody's cool with it, you're not really forcing anybody into it. That kind of stuff can be really fun. Party games, smoking games, if everybody's down and signs up for it and throws down some flour, it can be a dang old good time. But the groups can get too big. I think like around 4 people is a good size for a sesh. You got 7 or 8 people trying to share one piece, it's not going to be a good time. But if you got a lot of pieces or a lot of options for things, you got a joint going around, you got a pipe going around, you got a few different things, it kind of makes it a little bit better. But probably the biggest con, I don't know if there's any data on this, but I'm positive, bro. I believe that like 70% of or more of pieces that are broken by your friend at the sesh. Like every time I hear about a piece breaking, it's either you were cleaning it, right, and you were just careless, or like your friend just broke it. I've heard so many times, hey, my friend broke my piece and they're not going to buy me a new one. What do I do? And like, get a new friend. I don't know. Have a good day, my dudes.